Good morning. This is Debbie Pierce from Must.Grow, and this morning we are going to talk with Rebecca Dray about social procurement, an exciting new movement that's coming to the U.S. It started here, and I'm excited to have Rebecca here because she really is the person to talk about this. Rebecca has owned 8 social enterprises in the UK. She currently owns and operates 2 in the United States. She's a co-founder of Social USA. She is the chapter leader for Social Enterprise Alliance in Michigan, and she's on the board of directors for Social Enterprise National Board. So there isn't anybody I can think of that is more knowledgeable about this topic. And so we're excited to have you with us this morning, Rebecca.
Thank you. That's a very nice intro.
You're welcome. So, one of the first questions always a question that I get asked when talking about social enterprise is, what is a social enterprise?
Yeah, and I think in the US that's less well understood than it is in some other parts of the world. So it's a good question. And ultimately, what I would say a social enterprise is a business that sells goods or services, but the reason it was created was to make an impact on people or the planet. So rather than being an extractive profit for shareholder model, this is a business model that isn't looking for a financial exit. It's always looking to put people and planet at the center of its work. So there are some criteria that are sort of globally accepted norms for a social enterprise business. One of those is that more than 50% of its profit is reinvested in that people and planet mission. The other is that it would make more than 50% of its revenue from selling those goods or services. So that could be grant revenue for services, but it could also be just selling shoes or bags or catering or all kinds of different things. So really a social enterprise could be any kind of business. It's more about the principles behind the business. So it could be set up as an LLC or a benefit corporation, an L3C, a 501c3. It could be all sorts of different business models, but it's more about its guiding principles and reason for existing.
Makes sense. And that's what differentiates it between being a nonprofit or a for-profit business. It's kind of a blended model, if you will.
Yes, it is. And we like to use, because you could actually be a 501c3 and be a social enterprise, but we like to use the terminology not for profit rather than non-profit, because obviously you have to make profit in order to survive as a business. And to be doing the good that you're trying to do.
Yep. All right, great. So explain to me, like I'm a newcomer, what social procurement is and how long has it been around? What's that about?
Social procurement is really pretty simple. It is businesses, governments, anchor institutions like hospitals and universities buying the everyday goods and services that they buy anyway, but buying them from social enterprises. So in a nutshell, it's just using the money you spend anyway on the things you need to run your company or your organization, but buying those things from a social enterprise that's then going to use that profit to reinvest in rebuilding community or an environmental mission or whatever. And it's been around for a really long time. It's not so developed in the US as it is in other countries, but really that's because it tends to work in pockets in the US. So because the terminology isn't really understood, because people don't tend to know a lot about it, there are some great examples of social procurement happening in places like Chicago or LA County with government organizations. And there's also lots of other examples of corporates buying from social enterprises, but it's never really had, one national intermediary organization that could help that process to happen. And that's why we created Buy Social USA, because there was this gap between small silos or pockets of this work happening and actually a kind of coordinated network of networks, if you like, across the country who were helping to really bring this to the country. And in other parts of the world, social procurement is millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars of purchasing goods and services from these enterprises that are then reinvesting in the local economy. So it's got huge potential to really benefit people and planet in the US. It just really needs to be sort of brought together more.
So tell me why a corporation would be so interested in buying this from a social enterprise. I mean, I know they've been kind of incentivized or interested in buying from, let's say, minority businesses at times, you know, or women-owned businesses, but why are they motivated to buy from social enterprises? And is that growing?
Yeah, so actually the US has been looking at supplier diversity for a really long time. That's a well-known terminology here. It's something that happens a lot, as you say, buying from women-owned business, buying from minority-owned business. That would be supplier diversity. But the reason that a corporate buyer would be interested is similar but different to why like a government or anchor institution would be interested. I think they have some overlap in terms of why they would want to buy, but they also have some differences. For corporate buyers, I would say it's really more about being demand driven. So I think consumers, especially Gen Z consumers, are really focused on brands and what they do in the world, the impact that they're having. Are they good companies? Are they treating people fairly? I would say that has only been heightened since the racial justice issues that have been brought forward with George Floyd, since COVID, and you know, companies struggling to survive. I think people are more and more looking at, are the businesses that we're buying from extractive in our community, in our society, or are they putting into our society, in our community? And similarly for government and anchor institutions, there is a massive economic multiplier effect that happens when you purchase from social enterprises. So if you look at something like CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, that would be corporates who choose to, let's say, for example, their employees volunteer their time to clean up trash in a neighborhood or something like that. And they might record how much staff time that is and what that costs the organization. And roughly speaking, if you were to look at the Fortune 500, they're spending around 15 million a year on CSR initiatives. But if you look at what they're spending on procurement, just on purchasing goods and services, it's more like 23 trillion. So the difference in the amount of impact you could make if you were to divert some of that spend that you're spending anyway on goods and services, but buy it from social enterprises. So economic multiplier shows that for every $100 you spend in a social enterprise, $450 of impact is made in a local community. So that's $450 of taxpayer savings often, because a lot of social enterprises tackle social issues. They help people reducing recidivism and reoffending rates, or helping with local education for young people, helping with employment for people who are furthest from the labor market, helping homeless people and veterans. You know, there's all kinds of amazing give back that happens with that same spend that you could be buying from a big box store, where that $100 you spent just goes off into a shareholder's pocket. So it's a completely different use of money.
Oh, what a big opportunity. Like you said, what a big opportunity. Even a small percentage of that, bought, like, just how you choose your caterer.
Exactly.
All that kind of stuff. So what is Buy Social USA, and what is that bringing to this procurement, social procurement movement?
Yeah, so BiSocial USA, we're a newly formed social enterprise, started in 2020. We're working really closely with other bisocial organizations around the world. So we are directly connecting with social traders in Australia, BiSocial in Canada, Social Enterprise UK, other places like that. So we're connected all over the country. And we are setting up 5 pilot sites in the US to start putting together that business model of social procurement. So we're setting the 5 pilot sites are going to be based in California, in Florida, in Minnesota, Ohio, and Michigan. And we're getting together networks of social enterprise sellers and then educating them about the social procurement process and then connecting them with those buyers. So we help both sides. We help the sellers to find the buyers and the buyers to find the sellers.
So the buyers, which would be the corporations, institutions, I know you've mentioned before, like hospitals are interested in doing this, and universities, and then of course corporations. But what are some of the things that are important to them when looking at a supplier? The certification. I mean, do they? Because we see in the consumer area, there's a lot of, people don't necessarily trust just because you say you're a green business.
Yeah.
And, we've seen that actually they're the opposite. So, is there that same kind of trust factor or anything like that? Or
yeah, I would say it's even more important when you look at social procurement. So one of the things that's really important is that the social enterprise seller is third-party verified in some way. So in the US, we now have the USA Certified Social Enterprise Accreditation, which is based on a global certification that exists and has been around for a long time. Canada has its own certification for their suppliers. Australia has the same thing. So it's really important when you bring a market opportunity to the table. It's really important that you have a certified seller base, because the last thing anybody needs is some article in the press in tomorrow's news that says X corporation purchased these these corporate gifts from a company that ends up using slave labor, child labor. So nobody wants bad press. Nobody wants the sector to be put at risk. And sadly, when there is a market opportunity available like this, there are going to be organizations that are going to not tell the truth when it comes to exactly all of their behaviors and the different morals of their organization. Yeah. So for BiSocial, we have like a 3-step process. Firstly, we use a database marketplace called Good Market, which has been around for a long time. It's a global organization, and they are free for social enterprises to set up a profile. And in order to be a seller on Good Market, you have to meet their minimum standards of criteria for entry. So you have to be able to show that you are not harming people or planet in anything that you are doing. So that's step 1. And then at the end of that application, the social enterprise can either say that they have a certification from a recognized third party that is recognized on the Good Market site. So things like World Fair Trade Organization, if they've been certified by them, that meets our standards as well. But if not, they can use that application as step 1 of becoming USA certified social enterprise. And the Good Market application will take them into a second set of questions that is not on the public website. It asks them about their financials and things like that. And it basically takes them through the second step of becoming certified. The third step being that Society Profits, the organization that does the certification, would ask to physically see the data. So it would ask for their governing or organizing documents. It asks for their tax returns and things like that, their accounts, so that it can really dig into the detail and make sure it can verify that the information that's being given is correct.
So because a corporation doesn't have time to vet all these people, so that's why they're coming. They're probably, they want to partner with Buy Social USA and all that, because then that makes their job so much easier too. And I would imagine it gives them some measurement back to say, hey, this year we switched 10% of our procurement to social enterprises, and that resulted in X millions of dollars put into these social causes. So
exactly that. And those are both really, really important factors. So firstly, some of the corporations that we've talked to, they've said, well, we didn't know if there was a supply chain out there in the US. We know there is in other countries because it has this similar, intermediary organization existing and a database existing. Mm-hmm. The US doesn't have that. It also doesn't have one standard business type for social enterprises. So the corporations, like you say, they don't have time or the energy to spend vetting each of these suppliers that want to go into their supply chain. They want to use an organization like ours that's done the heavy lift for them, and has put all of that information together. And the last thing you said about the impact and being able to show the impact is something that's so vitally important, that the impact reporting that comes out of other parts of the world is just fantastic. It really helps us see the direct relationship between buying from social enterprises and really helping the people in our communities and our planet. So we're actually partnering with a social enterprise based in Detroit called Gingras Global, and they developed some really great, affordable, bespoke impact reporting software. And we use that in all the work that we do. So if a social enterprise gets a procurement contract, Buy Social USA can just go into that reporting software, and we can aggregate data to produce one impact report for the purchasing company from all of the different social enterprise sellers that they're using. So it's a great piece of software, and it's kind of that missing piece of the puzzle, I feel, in terms of bringing together all of the information you need to really demonstrate what social procurement can do.
That's awesome. So what would you recommend a social enterprise do? Do you have any recommendations on what they can do to be part of this?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing is to register your social enterprise company with Good Market. It doesn't cost anything. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do it. And you're then taking your first step into becoming part of the Buy Social database of sellers. Contact us. We're always happy to link you up with local organizations that can support you. If you live in one of the 5 pilot states, especially get in touch, because we're actively setting up the seller databases in those areas. But yeah, just reach out and get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to work with any social enterprise, helping them through that process. That's our reason for existing.
Great. Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to put that up on the screen, how to get in touch with you, and also a link to Good Market. And really appreciate your time this morning, Rebecca.
Yeah, I really appreciate yours, Debbie. Thank you.
I'm excited to see this take off.
Yeah, me too.
Have a good day.
You too.